The view control bar is located in the lower left corner of the drawing area. Several of the options are tied to instance properties for the active view. For example, the first control is the scale. You can adjust the scale here in the view control bar, and it'll adjust the view scale instance property. Similarly, you can control the detail level, which can be coarse, medium, or fine, and various elements will display differently depending on the detail level. And then you can control the visual style as well, such as hidden line, shaded, wireframe, so on and so forth. Additionally, I'll skip over these two for now, the sun and shadow options. The do not crop view toggle, and then hide crop region, show crop region, those are tied to the, let me scroll down in the properties palette, those are tied to the crop view and crop region visible instance parameters. So if you toggle those options here, do not crop view, you can see it disables the crop view parameter. And similarly, the hide crop region and show crop region toggle is tied to the crop region visible instance parameter. Next, I will open the default 3D view, and let's go back to those sun and shadow options. The sun path button, when you click that, there are a few options here. First off, you can access the sun settings, and in the sun settings dialog, you can control the solar study options and then additional options depending on what you have selected here. I'll select single day for this example and click OK. And then I will click the sun path option again and choose sun path on. And when I do, you can see the sun path here in the 3D view. And then we'll toggle shadows on. The shadows button is simply a toggle between shadows on and shadows off. And with the sun path, we can see how it is controlling the shadows. All right, I'm going to turn the sun path off, and we'll turn shadows off as well. And we'll take a look at the remaining options. When you are in a 3D view, you can access the rendering dialog from the view control bar. And you can also control whether a 3D view is locked or not. When you click the little house icon, you can then choose to save the orientation and lock the view. I'm going to leave it unlocked for now. Next, we have the temporary hide isolate controls. And to show this, let me first select a wall, and then I'll click the temporary hide isolate button, and you can see several options here. If I choose isolate category, then the walls category is isolated. In other words, just the walls are visible in the view. Be aware that you can select multiple categories at once and use that option. Additionally, you can see a border around the drawing area indicating that we are in a temporary view mode. So what that means is that we haven't adjusted the view properties, we are just in a temporary view mode. I'm going to go back to the temporary hide isolate options and reset temporary hide isolate. And I'm going to select a wall again and go back, and this time I'm going to choose hide category. Now what I've done is I've hidden all of the walls in the view. And you can continue using those options. For example, I'll select the roof, and then I'm going to hide that category. And then I can select a ceiling and hide that category. So if you are working on a specific area or doing coordination, you can use these tools to temporarily hide or isolate categories to be able to narrow down on a specific area. And then you can go back and reset it and simply go back to whatever you were doing. In addition to hiding and isolating entire categories, you can also hide and isolate individual elements. So once again, depending on what you are doing, these tools can be extremely useful. Next is reveal hidden elements. And just to see how this works, I'm going to hide an element using the Hide Elements tool. And when I hide an element, you can see that you may not know that an element is actually hidden. And that's why that tool can be difficult on other users, is because they don't know if the roof has been hidden or maybe the roof hasn't been modeled yet. It's hard to tell. But when we use Reveal Hidden Elements in the View control bar, then any elements that have been hidden will appear in a red color, and you can also see that there is a border around the window indicating that we are in a temporary view state. I can then select an element that has been hidden, and I can use the tool in the Contextual Ribbon tab to unhide the element. Additionally, you can see the levels are highlighted, and when I select them, you can see that the category has been hidden. So I can even unhide an entire category of elements that have been turned off. And then I can use the tool on the Contextual Ribbon tab to toggle off Reveal Hidden Elements, or I can click the button in the View control bar. All right, continuing on, I'm going to go to the floor plan view, and let's assign a view template. And when a view template is assigned, all of the view properties that it is controlling are no longer available to be adjusted. So what you can do is use temporary view properties in the view control bar. And when you enable temporary view properties, once again, you enter into a temporary view state, and then you can make adjustments as needed to the view properties. So if you just quickly wanted to make an adjustment or even control the visibility of something, you could do so temporarily as you take a look, and then you can go back to the temporary view properties button and restore the view properties. Additionally, you could even temporarily apply a view template. That's another option you have there. So lots of tools here in the view control bar, and a couple more we'll look at. Reveal Constraints will show you any constraints that have been added in the model. And once again, it's a temporary view state, and if you select one of those, you can see what type of constraint it is. So in this case, I will hover over the dashed line, and it tells me in the tooltip that it's an alignment constraint. If we look here at specific dimensions, and you select one of those dimensions, you can see that it has been locked, creating a constraint in the model. So if you are having issues moving an element, or something seems to be behaving a little bit differently, you may want to reveal those constraints so you can see what's going on, and then you can simply toggle out of that Reveal Constraints mode. I'm going to go back to the default 3D view, and just briefly here, we'll talk about the last couple here. So Show Analytical Model, that's more on the structural side with the Structural Analytical Model. And then the last option here is to highlight displacement sets. And so if elements have been displaced, then you can highlight any displacement sets and then toggle that off as well.